Hi and welcome to this video where I'm going to explain how I set up my planning system using a traveler's notebook with a Leuchtturm and a cheap throwaway notebook inside, an A5 binder for long-term planning, different color pens, lots of tabs, and ideas and concepts from the Getting Things Done productivity system. So my system is designed to eliminate distractions and help you navigate when you need to focus. So it is quite structured and minimalist-ish, but it is color-coded. Colors are really important in this system. It's divided into different sections that I'll go through in a minute. It has tabs for quick flips and easy navigation to different sections and spreads. So they replace an index. And I always use the same layout for spreads, for example, for weeklies. So my brain sort of gets used to them. And also there are no unnecessary headings or doodles because they draw the eye and can distract you. Now, there is some redundancy in the system. I rewrite some things several times in different sections, but there are reasons for this, and I'll explain later. So let's start with the daily planner. I take it with me everywhere I go. It covers 6 months and contains time-specific planning, current projects, and next actions. And it's divided into 4 sections. And 3 of the sections are in the Leuchtturm at the front. And then the 4th section consists of the extra notebook at the back. And in the Leuchtturm, I have at the front a time-specific section which houses calendar spreads, weeklies, and the like. And on the top of the book, I have tabs to help me flip to each month. So each of these tabs corresponds to a month. For example, green is April, red is for May, June is yellow, and so on. And as you can see, each of these spreads are also color-coded to correspond to the tab. So that's the first section, the time-specific one. Then after that, I have my next actions. And these are different contexts. So I have sectioned off roughly 50 pages for next actions. And at the back of the Leuchtturm, I have my project section. And here I have sectioned off about 60 pages for home and dream projects and 20 pages for work projects. And the difference between home and dreams, they all have to do with my private life and home. But home projects are mandatory while dreams are optional. So they're kind of someday maybe projects. And I get to the different parts of this section by flipping to the home project tab at the top, the dream project tab, or the work project tab. And finally, I have my random section in the other notebook at the back. And here's a dashboard for all my tabs. But the random section is for notes and meeting agendas and just brainstorming and random ideas. So that was a quick overview, and now I'm going to go through all the sections in detail and explain my layouts and all that stuff. So let's start again at the beginning. And I'll just mention really quickly that at the front I've made 2 pockets by cutting the pages diagonally and then just gluing them down along the edges here. And in them I keep scrap paper for drawing and writing dailies and notes. And I have washi tape on a ruler here, just post-its and things I might need. Sometimes I put gift cards or doctor's appointments or, just stuff like that. Reference material, I guess you could call it. So the time-specific section, the first section in the Leuchtturm. Each month is sort of housed in a booklet. I call them my monthly booklets because each of them is sort of surrounded or embraced by these cover pages. And the cover pages are color-coded. Everything is color-coded, so there is a specific color for each month, so that June is yellow, May is red, and April is green. So I paint something pretty on the cover page, and then inside I have a very specific layout. There's a page on each side, like this, that's a bit narrower than the cover pages, as you can see. And in the middle, I have my weekly spreads on even narrower Dutch store pages. So, as you can see, it's sort of layered. There are 3 layers. So you can see information on the inside of the cover pages here. You can see other information on these pages while you're on your weeklies in the middle. And throughout the monthly booklet, everything is color-coded according to the month, which means that I write neutral things like, for example, dates, headings, and habits in the monthly color, to remind myself what month I'm in without having to write it out, which saves space, but also removes a distraction. For example, in the April booklet, I don't write April anywhere, but everything sort of neutral is written in green. So I still know that it's April. So let's begin with the calendar. It's on the inside of the front cover page. And here I write events and meetings and deadlines, and these entries are color-coded according to area, not according to the month. Because when it's color-coded according to a project area, it makes it easy for me to see which projects have deadlines and so on during the month. And also, when I color code the entries, I don't have to write the name of the project. So if there's a meeting, or there are different meetings within different projects, I write them in different colors. So I don't have to write the whole project name, so it saves space when you have a lot of entries like I do. So the calendar spread provides a visual overview of the month, and I can plan ahead. And on the next page, I have my work spread, and this is just a reminder for stuff. So here on this spread, I can see all the weeks, the weekly numbers on the calendar spread. And I've drawn boxes that correspond to these weeks. And in these boxes, I transfer the most important deadlines and events from the calendar. So for each week, I check what is the most important stuff to be done this week. I put it here because it will be visible when I'm doing my weekly planning. And to the right of this list, I have space to write other projects that are not as time specific, or I might have a deadline next month, but I have to start working on it now, so there's space to write those projects as well. And here I have room for scripting about each project. And scripting is when you write about things as though they've already happened and they turned out great. So it's a kind of manifestation or mental training practice that focuses on a positive outcome. And I like having that to the right because somehow when it's there, it draws my eyes and reminds me of, the ultimate goals of my projects. And we're going to skip over the weeklies in the middle for now, and go to the corresponding home project spread on the other side, because it's very similar to the work spread. So here I have my weekly boxes to the right to make them visible from the weekly spreads. And I list things like birthdays and deadlines for filing taxes and things like that. There are things I must remember. And then on the left page, I have room for more projects up here, but they don't have a deadline that month, but I still need to work on them. And underneath that, I have space for dream projects that aren't mandatory, but I'd like to do them. And then here, I have room for scripting about the home projects. So, in the middle then, on the narrowest Dutch doors, we have the weekly spreads. And on the left side of the weekly spread, I put the days without names to reduce distraction, but I always use the same layout, so I know which day is which. I do put the dates in the upper left corner, color-coded according to the month. So here I have March, and then it shifts to April. And I transfer events and meetings and deadlines from the monthly calendar. And they're all color-coded according to project or area. And each day, I also put a box up here. And now I did it in the wrong color, but never mind. It's called a square of done, and I've filched it from Eddie Hope. It's a concept, when you're done with all your tasks for a day, you mark the box of done, the square of done, so you can see at a glance that you're free. You fill it in or you mark it with some kind of symbol. So on the weekly spread, I only put time-specific events, meetings and deadlines, just like in the calendar. But sometimes I actually do fill in could-dos, not to-dos, but could-dos in pencil. If I wanted to sort of suggest to myself what to do, but it's always in pencil to signify that it doesn't have the same weight as the color-coded things, because they are mandatory. But sometimes, you want to make half-baked plans, so you can use pencil for that. Then, on the other page of the spread, I put the number of the week in the lower right corner. And this is a space for brain dumps that must be processed before the end of the week. So I put them here. I put memories, write down something for each day that I want to remember, some kind of highlight. And sometimes, if I need to write a daily, a list for a specific day, I have to do these things in this order. I sometimes do this because I'm feeling scatterbrained and just need, a list for today. So then I use scrap paper from the front pocket and I washi tape it in. And then when the day is done, I just rip it out. So I don't keep it. And I don't use up precious paper in the planner for my dailies. I just toss them at the end of the day. So these Dutch doors give me a lot of information at a glance. I get a feel for how much is left of the month, since I can see all the weekly numbers. I can see a summary of important deadlines on the work and home projects pages. And I don't have to rewrite these things each week because, these pages are always visible. Also, when I'm on week 13, for example, I can see what's on the horizon on week 14 and 15. So if I want to, I can start working on those things this week because I can see what's coming up. But there's one thing left. As you can see, there is another list. Let's go to the inside of the back cover and have a look at that. So in the right margin, I have a list of habits and things to track. And this is the table where I track it. So when I'm on my weekly spread, I can see these. They are sort of reminders of the daily habits I want to do. And I don't have to rewrite them either each week. But as you can see, I haven't drawn the boxes. I haven't filled in the table with all the, lines, because I don't do it until it's time to do the task. So the table is blank to begin with. I only draw a box for the tasks I actually plan to do that day. So if I feel tired one day, I can decide to skip some of them and just mark, for example, do the dishes and yoga, and skip the other ones. So then I only have 2 boxes to fill in. And when I do the habit, I fill in the box with the color of the day, because that's the third way I color code. I color code according to projects, months, and weekdays. So on this spread, I use the weekday color. So, for example, Mondays are red. So when I've filled in the tracker, I can see at a glance which days are most productive. And for example, there's often a lot of red on my tracker because I often do a lot of habits on Mondays. So I sort of get a feel for how my energy fluctuates during the week. When I've filled in my habits and I feel like, I'm done for the day, in the same way that I fill in this square of done when I've done all the tasks on my weekly spread, on my habit tracker, I draw a line. I won't do it now, but I will show you. I draw a line, this way to signify that, this day is done. Even though I haven't done all my habits, the line of done signifies that, I'm going to stop todaying now. And finally, to the left of the tracker, I have empty space. I'm thinking I might list wins or write gratitude stuff there. I'm not sure yet. So that's the time-specific section. Now let's turn to the next actions section. And this section has spreads for work, and these tabs are black and white, and home, rose and gold, and dreams with musical notes on it. And these correspond to the project tabs up here. So black and white for work, rose and gold for home, and musical notes for dreams. So I'm going to go through my contexts. For work, I have one spread for assessing and giving feedback to people, because I do this a lot, so it has its own spread. And I even have sub-contexts here, because I've realized that each time I assess something, it's a mini project, and I need to treat it as such in order not to be overwhelmed. Maybe that's just me, but I'll show you how I set it up just the same. I have the sub-contexts listen, IQ, feedback, document, and grade. So what these things mean is that I do my assessments in small steps. I listen to the texts in a text-to-speech app to get a feel for what it's about. Then the IQ column means that I check formal things like language and references. And it doesn't require any intellectual effort. I can do it when I'm low in energy. That's why I call it IQ. Then the feedback sub-step entails writing generic comments about the text. And the document one is for detailed feedback in the document. So I don't always do this, so I only draw the box in that column if I find it necessary to comment in the actual document. Otherwise, I leave it blank. And finally, there's a column for grade, which is the final step. In the lower right corner here, I have resubmissions, so I keep track of when I'm waiting for new versions of texts. My next context spread for work is computer and write. And I have those on the same spread because they both tend to fill up quickly, so I need a new page for both of them roughly at the same time, so it makes sense to have them in tandem, as it were. Then I have contact and waiting for, and decide. So when I contact someone about something, I put a box in the waiting for column, which saves space. I don't have to rewrite what I'm waiting for because it's right there. And decide is for things like, do I want to take part in this seminar or should I take on this project? Things to decide. Then on the next spread, I have listen and brainstorm, where I put things I need to listen to and things I need to generate ideas about, for example, new projects. And finally, I have a separate IQ context that concerns things not to do with assessing, so just super easy stuff like Googling or downloading things that I can do even when I'm ready to drop. And finally, I have read, which is pretty self-explanatory. So these contexts fit my different moods and energy levels. So when I'm tired, for example, I can go to the IQ list or the listen list, because those actions require less energy than, say, giving feedback to people. So I list my actions in the color of the project, so I don't need to write that out. I know that dark red means this course or light blue means that course. And I also structure my action lists by putting an empty box in front of the most pressing actions. So I know at a glance what I should do first. And when I've done an action, I fill in the box. So on to home next actions, where I have things to do online. See fix, which means stuff like cleaning and fixing things. Hobby, which is a list for things to discuss with my husband or do with my husband. Village and town for errands outside the house. And finally, my dream contexts are online and see fix, just like on the home spread. Creative, which has to do with hobbies, and planner stuff. Oh, and I almost forgot, I have one more tab down here below all the next action ones, and it just means next blank page. So when I need a new spread, I go there. Now let's go to the project section. I section off about 60 pages for home projects, home and dreams projects, and 20 pages for work projects. And it is kind of unpredictable how many pages I'll need. At work, I know I'll have around 10 projects, so that's sort of quite sure. But home is a bit more unpredictable, but you know, I'm trying it out. 60 pages. So I have a master list for home, a master list for dreams, and a master list for work. And along the side, I have the tabs for each project spread. Now, this may look a little cluttered because, you know, you have tabs here, and, you know, behind these there are more tabs, but it's all structured by the sections. So if the book is closed and I go to the home master spread with a master list, I know that all the tabs that follow have to do with home projects. So they're home project spreads. And similarly, if I go to the work master spread via the tab at the top, all my work project spreads will follow. So as long as I go to the proper section of the book, the tabs that are then visible along the side will correspond to that section. So for each area of my life, I have tabs. So for example, I have health, social media, writing, crafting, renovations, wardrobe, cabin, food, photography, cleaning, and so on. And it's the same with my work project tabs. I have courses I teach, I have courses I take, I have a general tab, I have one for research, and also one for coaching or applications. Now, the project spreads that follow the master lists provide a structured overview of each project with a list of sub-projects, a section for someday maybe stuff, and there's room for scripting, and there's a section for notes and references. And these project spreads are color-coded and marked with tabs. And when I write someday maybe stuff down here that I don't do before the book is finished, the planner is finished, I migrate them into my someday maybe binder that I'll go through later. So they find a home even when I abandon ship. And the notes section is for information I might need to remember about the project, but it's not a part of the project in the form of tasks. It's only information, like for example, which colleagues I'm collaborating with on a project. So as you can see, I rewrite a lot of things. I put projects on, the master list. I put them on a project spread. I put them on the calendar spread for specific months. I put them on the monthly project spread, on the inside here. And I also put it on the weeklies when they're due. And it can seem very redundant that you have to rewrite things all the time. But I do this because I want to see the information in different ways. So on the calendar, I can see an overview of everything I have to do the coming weeks. And on the monthly work spread, I see a list of projects I need to work on with some detail, and I also see them from the weekly. So because I can't see the calendar spread, but I can see the summary of what I need to do in this margin. And at the back, in the project section, I have my lists of everything I need to do the coming 6 months. So it's the big picture, the bird's eye view of everything I need to do during the coming half year. And on the project spreads, I have all the details pertaining to each project, which I don't put anywhere else. So all these spreads and entries, even though they might seem similar, they do different things. It's like in Excel, you can order things according to different things like chronology or the alphabet and so on. And in the same way, the different entries in my planner are different ways of viewing the same thing. And I actually need all of them at different moments of my planning. So it's worth it to rewrite some things. Also, writing helps cement my projects in my brain, so it helps me remember. So on to the final section in the daily planner, which is the separate notebook for random stuff. So as I said earlier, this is for notes, meeting agendas, brainstorming, things like that. And I use cheap notebooks from yard sales and secondhand shops. So I don't hesitate to use it for wild scribbling. And I used to put all this in my, nice notebook, but I used up so many pages that it only lasted me for, 2.5 months or something. So I can't migrate everything into a new book every 2 or 3 months. So I needed somewhere, a more kind of throwaway book to put that stuff. So the section is designed for, free thinking, free scribbling. There are no rules. There's just freedom, space to think, make mind maps, whatever. So it's not pretty at all, but it supports brainstorming. And sometimes I process ideas from these pages later and structure them on project spreads, and sometimes it's just jumbled notes from a meeting and I realize afterwards I won't need this, so I just rip the page out and I'm done. But when I need to process stuff, I put washi tapes to signify the area, so I find it easily. So, for example, these are notes for, jumbled ideas about a course I'm teaching. And I have the corresponding color here. So I can think about this, do I want to do this? Yes. And I structure it and put it in the nice notebook on the project spread to do with that course. So, jumbled ideas, structured plans. And that's it for the daily planner. And the other half of the system is the someday maybe binder. So on to the someday maybe binder. At the front I have some tabs and a very small section for seasonal reminders. And these are pages where I put tasks to do each year at roughly the same time, such as putting out the garden. So, last stop, the someday maybe binder. At the front, I have a very small section for seasonal reminders. So there's just one page for spring, one for summer, one for autumn, and one for winter. And these are pages where I put tasks to do each year at roughly the same time, such as putting out the garden furniture in the spring or preparing mincemeat for my Christmas baking in the autumn. So that's just something I check as the seasons turn. And after that, I have all my someday maybe lists. I have them on separate pages marked with tabs in color-coded writing. And I have one section for work and two for home. And the home sections are roughly similar to the ones in my daily planner. I've made a division between things that are kind of mandatory, like birthdays and paperwork and things like that, car and stuff, maintenance, and things that are kind of optional, like hobbies, fun stuff. So I use the same color tabs as I do for home and dreams in the daily planner. So there's just, one page or several pages for each area. All my long-term planning and ideas for things to do. I mean, it's just chock full of stuff, as you can see. And at the very back, I have a section for memories, which has nothing to do with planning, but more with looking back. So behind this page, I have one page for each year, and I write the big things that happen every year. The kind of stuff that comes up in conversation. When did we do this thing? So you know where to go if you want to check. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope someone was inspired and maybe got some new ideas to try.